Is Medellin safe? We actually canceled our first attempt at a trip to Medellin because I was concerned about safety. But I'm really glad we made it because it was so worth it.
After 16 days in Medellin doing everything from nightlife to grocery shopping to walking around at night, we'll give you our tips for staying safe in Medellin.
We took specific precautions and you should too.
We'll tell you which areas to avoid and which areas felt really safe and comfortable. Maddie will also tell you about what happened to her in the Centro neighborhood that freaked her out. We're Scott and Maddie. We slow travel the world while making money online. Let's start with areas that did not feel safe. So there's the Centro, where we took this free tour that was totally worth it, and we saw all the cool monuments and Botero statues, but you definitely had to be on guard. That's where prostitution, you could see it a lot. And they say don't go at night, and as the sun kind of went down, it did feel like you had to be on guard.
Yeah, it's very crowded, not the cleanest area.
There was another place that we didn't even go because of its unsafe reputation, which is called Prado. So let's talk about the worst things that happened to us. So here's real life. We were there. We didn't get robbed. Nothing terrible happened. But, you did have something that freaked you out.
Yeah, so we were on a walking tour of Centro, and so we were in a group of maybe like 10 or 15 people, and this clown came up and grabbed my elbow, my arm. And
while I was standing right next to you.
Yeah, Scott was
and
actually
we're in
holding
a big group of people.
Yeah, so it was a little bit alarming.
And he honked his horn.
Yeah, and I did not expect it at all. You see those people performing or whatever, and you just kind of ignore it or brush it off or say no thank you. But when they actually come up and touch you, it feels a little bit like they violated my personal space.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. But we were safe, didn't pickpocket anything. In fact, in that neighborhood, you'd think pickpocketing would happen, and I'm sure it does. So we went on a tour, and the guy's from Medellin, born and raised, and he said he's been doing that tour how many years?
Several years.
Yeah, and he does these tours every day, and he said only one time someone had something stolen.
They had a phone stolen out of their front pocket, and it was actually a man, and a woman stole the phone.
Yeah, so it is a big city, things happen, but, this guy interacts with thousands of tourists, and one time something happened in years. So don't let that be you. Stick to the tips that we're going to give you, please. I wouldn't even say this is the worst thing that happened to us, but we were in the party zone.
Provenza.
Yep. And these two guys came up to me and Maddie, and they started freestyle rapping, trying to make it about us. And
yeah, they wouldn't really go away.
I just found it kind of annoying. Some people would find it amusing, and at the end, of course, they asked for money. Another thing, we were in the
La Provenza again.
Provenza, that crazy nightlife area. I call it the Times Square. It's super touristy. And so there's all these promoters came up to us hey, come in the place, and they kind of follow you down the street.
Yeah, even if you cross the street, they cross with you. So they're a bit more aggressive than other places that we've been.
Definitely.
And they don't love to take no for an answer, so you might have to say no 5 to 10 times instead of just one time.
Did not feel unsafe, but I felt annoyed. No,
it was just uncomfortable. If I was by myself as a female, I might feel a little bit unsafe.
Let's talk about safe neighborhoods. So they say El Pablato is the safe neighborhood, and the surprise for us is it's way bigger than a neighborhood. I would call it a borough. Being from New York City, each borough is its own city. El Pablato is basically like a city within a city. This is the fanciest area. Some people called it the Beverly Hills of Medellin.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's neighborhoods within El Pablato. So let's name a few. Tesoro. This was the only place we saw luxury vehicles.
That was really upscale. That reminded me of Polanco in Mexico City, if you've ever been there.
The place they call Pashlan.
Yeah.
This is the only place we saw people with designer handbags or jewelry, and not that much, but if there was one neighborhood in El Pablato, it's Tesoro. They had a nice park, it's on the hill, you get beautiful views, so if you stay in that neighborhood, I think this is the major hotel chains there too, you should feel pretty
and great
good.
Shopping. They had a huge mall.
Very modern, nice mall. I'm not a big fan of malls, but hey, it was really nice. Air conditioned, which was really good. Another nice neighborhood, Manila. You want to tell them about Manila?
Yeah, so this is where all the digital nomads are. This is where all the cafes are. You'll see people working on their laptops, out and about. It felt like young professionals. It was chill. It wasn't too, no one was really trying to show off. But obviously, you're going to stick out if you're a tourist. But it was a really nice area. This might have been my favorite area of El Pablato.
We stayed in an area called Astorga, quieter generally.
It was very nice.
We had our favorite restaurant, the Argentinian restaurant was there.
Steakhouse, yeah.
Great deal. So also very safe. We walked around there at night plenty.
Yeah, and it was walkable to like Manila and La Provenza, the nightlife areas, but it was still really quiet. So if you're someone that's a light sleeper, that might be a place to consider staying.
Zona Rosa / Provenza / Parque Lleras. That's the crazy time. I call it the Times Square. So if you're gonna party there, we actually prefer to party other places. That's a whole other video. So it's it's still safe. It's just like we said, you might, be bothered by noise or people coming up to you telling you to go into their club. Calle 10 is a busy, gritty street that we crossed a number of times just to get from one neighborhood to the next. So there's plenty of shops there. Didn't feel unsafe, but just in general, I think you just want to be aware like you're in a big city, because you are.
Yeah, and I mean, on Calle 10, a lot of people would come up to you asking for money or tips or whatever, or trying to get you to go into their restaurant. Those people were less aggressive than the nightlife squares near Parque Lleras, so you could breathe a little bit easier.
Yeah, if you're worried something really bad is going to happen at Parque Lleras, that there's signs that say enter and exit, so you know that the zone exists. It's very obvious. And there's military style police with machine guns.
So we didn't mention that yet, but there are a lot of police officers, military, and they are armed, and I mean, they definitely make an impression.
Yeah, I think they're making that it's safe. I think once you get over that factor, it's whoa, I mean, they're not messing around. I think they're trying to keep the tourism alive.
Definitely.
Okay, some other neighborhoods. These we did not go to on our first trip, but we'll go back to. Laureles is known to be very safe. Envigado and Sabañet.
They're supposed to be similar to El Pablato, but maybe have less nightlife and might be slightly less touristy and more like a suburb.
All right, let's talk about safety in Airbnb and hotels. It looks like Medellin has a problem or had a problem with underage sex tourism. Pretty much everywhere we went had signs about this. So if you're trying to do something horrific and illegal, they're not messing around. All of your guests need to be registered. They seem pretty strict about that.
Yeah, and all the Airbnbs and even the hotels that we looked at, it's in the fine print, but it's also at the top of the page when you go to book, that anyone that enters that Airbnb or accommodation must be a registered guest or approved by the owner, the host, whoever. So they are very strict. A lot of complaints on Airbnb reviews were that people met up with some friends and their friend couldn't come back to their place with them. And I mean, that might be difficult, but I mean, I think it's really helped Medellin turn around its reputation.
Also, at your Airbnb or hotel, it's pretty common to have a doorman or / security guard. So the Airbnb we stayed at night, the door was locked, and you waited half a minute for the front door person to unlock the door for you. So it also made it extra safe. Okay, so let's just give tips for staying safe in Medellin. One, they have a phrase called "Don't give papaya," and that's their way to say don't make it obvious that you have money on you and you're, don't be a target.
Don't be flashy.
I would even say it might be rude to have on a lot of jewelry or very expensive designer stuff, because people there don't have that. And so who are you really flexing on? It just makes no sense. So if you want nice stuff, you can wear nice stuff. I wore nice shirts. Try to stay away from having brands on, and Maddie didn't bring any designer purses or anything. And
No, we didn't wear jewelry.
That's just being extra cautious, especially the first time. I would say be aware of people on mopeds and motorcyclists. There's a lot of them. So we didn't see any of this, but again, just out of an abundance of caution, if you're gonna have your phone out on the street, and it's someone could snatch it off of your hand. We never saw this. It probably happens rare. But
try to hold your phone close to you. Maybe hold it with both hands.
I would do that in New York City, where I'm from. I would do that most anywhere, Miami. I mean,
have a good grip on it. Don't be
people who told us, "Oh, you can't take your phone out." No, that was nonsense. We took footage.
Yeah, we have iPhones, and I mean, our iPhones aren't the newest iPhones, but they're clearly iPhones. So we felt safe taking videos, taking photos everywhere, especially in El Pablato.
Some people say don't carry your passport. That might be a good tip anywhere. Make sure you have, digital copies of everything. Mass transit safety. We only took mass transit once, and that was to the
Parque RV. We took the cable cars,
which was awesome. Totally recommend that.
Highly worth it.
We felt safe taking mass transit. Now, our tour guide, who's native from Medellin, say they take so much pride in the mass transit system, that it's clean, and we did experience that, and very, very safe, unlike most cities.
Yeah,
Very
so the
safe.
train stations are usually like the scary areas, or at least that's been our experience. But in Medellin, it was very clean. I mean, they even had people cleaning it as we were getting on and off, and people care about it. They respect it.
We saw videos and whatnot. Like, always hold your bag in the front so you see it. We did see some people doing that. We also saw plenty of people having their backpack on in the back. You can hear the same thing when you go to like European cities. You're gonna get pickpocketed. It could happen. We've been lucky, but we also are pretty smart about it.
Yeah, I
Don't
would
have like something super valuable like hanging out of your backpack where someone could like take it and you wouldn't even realize, or cut the straps on it. But we didn't see anything like that.
I would take the regular big city precautions, like in any big city in the US and Europe, Asia. Same thing in Medellin.
So, is Medellin safe for single women? What would you say?
Yeah, I think so. We saw girls by themselves that were younger, that were older, all ages, walking around during the day, at night. Some of them were even carrying big backpacks like that someone could snatch. They did not seem bothered at all. I even saw one girl get catcalled and she just like laughed it off and kept walking, and she looked perfectly safe. I would say in Medellin, single men are probably more of a target than single women. Colombia is known for its beautiful women, so I think the single men that come there, whether or not they're going to stay for a weekend or a few months, I think they do often become targets, and that's what you see a lot on the news headlines. So it's just something to like really be cognizant of and be smart.
So, your lasting impression of Medellin, safe enough to go back, safe enough to maybe live there? How did you just feel, like comfort level?
I felt very comfortable. So we're from the US, from South Florida near Miami. Comparing it to that, I did not feel any less safe than I would in Miami.
And we only had to speak a little bit more Spanish then.
We only had to
That's a
speak a
joke.
little bit more Spanish.
We
yeah.
did stay mostly in El Pablato.
So
That's a big
we-
thing. Where in the city are you staying and doing nightlife and shopping?
But it's just like in any big city. Like there's going to be areas that you avoid and there's going to be areas that you feel safe in. So you're in a big city. You need to be aware. You're new here. You need to get your bearings. But I wouldn't say it's any more unsafe than any other big city in the world.
Don't miss Medellin because you're scared.
Exactly. So touching on what we had mentioned at the beginning of this video, I was really scared to go. A year ago, I was really worried about going because the US State Department ranks Colombia as a level 3, which is like pretty dangerous.
Except at the time, they change it. But then we learned it's certain areas of the country. But we were there and it was chill.
And we loved it, and I'm so glad we took the leap and went.
Please like, comment, and subscribe, and to never miss another video, join our email list on touchdownmoney.com.